Welcome back to Roaming with Restless Women. I am so excited that we are several episodes in now and that I have Jamie Seeker joining us today. Welcome, Jamie.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Jamie. Jamie Seeker is the owner of Seeker Solutions, a business consulting firm that delivers strategic planning, financial management, training and development, human resources, marketing strategy, and operations management solutions. She and her team of consultants have used their talents to improve business operations at nonprofits and charities, large franchises, retail, industrial, civic, and locally owned private businesses, covering multiple industries. Jamie spent 10 years in the nonprofit service industry in various leadership roles, such as operations, fiscal management, human resource management, customer service, community relations, and sales and marketing. In the nonprofit space, she refined her ability to work with many different diverse groups to accomplish a common goal. Jamie's originally from San Diego, but now lives in Arizona, which I just found out, and received her formal education in California. She received her Bachelor of Business Administration degree with an emphasis in marketing and a minor in philosophy. My kind of girl. Love it. She lives in Arizona, as I mentioned, with her husband and 7 children.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have to start with, how do you have time to run a business and raise 7 children at the same time? When do you sleep?
I do sleep. It's intentional. I think just like anything, you have to have a plan. You can't go into it just letting the river pull you. You got to realize, yes, it's moving and the river's there, but you can stand up and it's shallow and you have the control to decide which direction you want to go. And sometimes it's like it takes you, and sometimes you can stand up and realize, hey, I've got a lot to say in the direction that I'm going. And yeah, I think I really struggled with the time thing though for a long time. I didn't start where I'm at today at the point of the size of my company or the size of my family for that matter. It wasn't like I just woke up and it was that way. It was a gradual growth period. So I think there's value to that. And I think that's part of why it looks different for me than say somebody who may not have as full of a schedule as I do. But I think we're all busy and we all have hard work that we do. It's just a matter of, it's just different for different people. So I think the biggest advice and the biggest hurdle that I was able to jump over when it came to, I don't have enough time, because there were points in my journey that I really felt like I don't have enough time to do that. And my husband just looked at me and said, you do have enough time. It's just not a priority. And that hurt my soul, because some of the things that I was talking about, it was a priority. But that's really where I had to stop and think, no, it was important to me. I was passionate about it. It was a goal of mine. It was something I wanted to do, but it wasn't the priority at that moment in time, which is why I wasn't doing some of those things. And so it's accepting that there are seasons, there are times. Timing is a lot of assessing what is important and what is the most important. And so I think that's really what helped me get through those times where I was feeling like I didn't have enough time. I don't feel like that anymore, not because I don't have so much to do, more so because I just have enough time for what I have time for now. And this is the time that I am supposed to be doing it, because that's what I chose. And then when that runs its course and I am able to shift and move on, then I go on to the next, and then I have enough time to do that important thing.
Those are amazing words of wisdom, because I think a lot of us put the pressure on to do all the things right now. And that's just not how life works. And when things happen and you have to adjust, when you have to pivot, when you have to rearrange your priorities, those are the times when you probably learn the most, like you said.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how you decided to start your business. Was there a triggering event that one day you said, okay, I'm doing this for myself?
Yes, there was. It was a long journey to get there. I had absolutely no intention of going into business for myself. And I did have just I think so. To answer your question, yes, there was a pivotal event, which was recognizing that at the current job that I was in, there was some transition and changing of roles that was hard but necessary. And I think not bad or anything. It was just like the business owner at the time was making some changes, and it was very clear that I think it was just a better fit to have her kind of step back into some of the things that I was overseeing and managing. And I was there for a time that was appropriate and good, and it was transitional, but it wasn't the first time that such a big event like that was in somebody else's hands for me
Yeah.
in my career. And it certainly wasn't my first job, but it was my last job, because I don't really consider this a job. It's definitely work. I think I just got to the point where I really didn't want my future, my career, the work that I did and how I did it to be determined by somebody else. And
Yeah.
so when she made that decision for her business, it was absolutely the right decision for her.
Hmm.
And I agreed with it, and I supported it, helped that transition happen, of course. But when all was said and done, the crazy part about it is, even at that point, I wasn't looking to start my own business. I just was feeling like, oh man, I'm in here again, where my future and my career and my journey is determined by somebody else. It's in somebody else. So those were feelings that I was having. But even then, I wasn't ready to just take it on myself. But within that transition, as we were going through and laying the groundwork to move me out and her in, there was a really overwhelming response from my colleagues and outside communities. I had been involved in, what's it called, just groups of business owners before. Even though I wasn't a business owner, I was running a business for a small business. And so I
Hmm.
was connected and networked. And a lot of those people, almost all of them that I was very closely connected with, wanted to take me out to lunch, wanted to sit down and talk about my next steps, wanted to talk about the future of their company and their needs. Some of them had jobs in mind, some of them had no jobs at all. They just were trying to figure out how I would fit into what they were doing.
Oh, that's
And
great.
that was a really big eye-opening time for me, that I realized I have something here. I'm selling something, or I'm showing people that I have something to give their company. And these were all business owners.
Yeah.
So I know how, because I was connected with them and I was sharing we were colleagues, we were working together on what
Hmm.
was going on in our businesses. And so really relying on each other in that way. So I knew a lot of things that were going on intimately within their company. So to
Hmm.
just be somebody that they wanted to be a part of that I felt very honored, and I felt a responsibility to that. Wow, this isn't just a conversation that we're having. They want me to be a part of this in the long run, and not just one or two. This was kind of an overwhelming amount of people that were coming to me saying, how much money do you want to make? What things do you want to be doing? Where do you want to go? I was like, I can write my ticket I had offers on the table, and I thought, how do I choose?
Oh, that's so terrible.
I
No.
know it was such a good problem to have, but I
Absolutely.
thought, I don't know that I want to pick just one. And that's where those feelings of whose hands do I put my future in again? And I
Yep.
thought, maybe none, maybe all. And so it
Yeah.
was like, I thought I got to figure out what it is that I'm selling. And that's where I came up with all of those solutions, because I was in operations, and that's why it sounds so much. You're listing them off. I'm like, oh my gosh, that feels overwhelming, but that's because it is overwhelming to be a business owner. Sometimes we
Yeah.
are responsible for all of these areas in our business. And
Mhm.
because I was in operations, I had experience doing a lot of those things. Those were the things that they were coming to me about when we were meeting and things like that. And so I thought, okay, I can sell little pieces of those. You need help in HR? Great. Here's an HR package. You need
Mhm.
help with your operations, your process side? Great. Here's a process package. And so I put those things together, presented them to everyone, and said, hey, because we were brainstorming about what that might look like, I came
Yeah.
up with this idea, what do you think of that? So that's where my first client base came from, was everyone saying, yes, absolutely, let's do this. And that's where Seeker Solution was born.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. That's really amazing. It sounds to me like you're destined to do it, and people had recognized your good work just in even tangentially working with you as
Right.
partner companies or suppliers
Yeah, just
or
colleagues and
yeah,
yeah,
colleagues. That's perfect. I love
yeah.
that. What do you feel is the most important aspect of your career? What value or passion holds it all together for you? You
I'd
do a
say
lot of stuff, like you said. What's the main red thread, as Marcus Buckingham says?
I'd say relationships and people, and actually genuinely caring about the core, what drives people, what is their passion, what is their main motivator, and
Mm,
how can I best help them realize that. And
yeah.
so the only way to get to that core piece in the first place is to have trust and to have a relationship
Hmm.
there, to where they can start, because a lot of it starts as the task, right? We have this
Right.
big thing that we need to accomplish, so that what's the very first thing we do? We need to deliver on that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so once we do that and we start peeling away and we face obstacles together, and see some of these consequences or results of decisions or benefit blessings of whatever decisions were made, we go through those together, and we go through the wins, we take some hits, and we just start to connect along the way. And I think when we do that and we really get to know each other for who we are, like you said, they understand my purpose and what I'm here to do, and I really understand them and what they're trying to do. And our companies are just the outlet, right? In
Hmm.
how we do what it is that we love or whatever. Um, and so I like how you said, this is my service to the world or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think everybody feels that way in some shape or form when they're a business owner. I have not come across somebody who doesn't have a purpose or why they started in the first place. And some of them are deeper than others, but it's okay. I don't need to determine what that is. I think it's unique to each person. But I think the thing that holds us together and why we're unique is really, we intentionally try to get to the core of that, and we do that relationally. And so I think that speaks volumes in our approach, our philosophies, our core values, how we do our day-to-day work, the advice that we give, the initiatives that we help to implement. All of those things are really tied up in who somebody is, and help them to realize that.
Sorry that I was looking away for a little bit. I was typing a quote that you said companies are the outlet of our purpose. They're just
Oh,
the outlet. The company itself is not the thing. It's how is the vehicle through which we fulfill our purpose. I love that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that quote
that
for
is
sure.
good. Thank you. That's what
I'll send
I
it
mean, I
back to
had,
you.
yeah, that's great. That's great. I love it.
Sometimes when we are asked or invited to share, just wisdom nuggets just come right out of us, because a lot of times we're not invited to share or to talk about our passion. We're if we're good consultants, we're talking about them.
Oh,
And so
absolutely.
it's really freeing sometimes to be able to talk about your own business and your own philosophy and be able to share that with the world. So thank you for that. I really
Oh, thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, thanks for asking. That was good.
What's the most challenging single thing about being an entrepreneur?
I think that one of the one of the things that we face as business owners is looking at our company as part of our identity. When
Mm,
you have employees or people that work for you or with you, it's their job. It's maybe even a little bit about what they doing, what they love, if it's a good thing. But it's my name on the company. It's your name on the company,
mhm.
on that ownership line. And so the buck really starts and ends with me. And that is a common thing that I see in entrepreneurs, is sometimes we can get wrapped up in a negative way as this being part of our identity, where if somebody quits or leaves, to them it's, oh, I had another job opportunity, but for us it's, why are you leaving me? There's an
Yes.
identity piece that's feeling like, oh, you're leaving me, when really that person was just had another opportunity.
Mhm.
That's just one example, but I think a lot of it is just that can be very challenging, and that can be something that I think can be a major source of struggle for some of, especially during the growth phase when things are tough, right?
Oh,
And so,
yes.
so you think as things are happening, and that's another way of looking at it too, is it's not it's not good things that are happening to you or bad things that are happening to you. They're just things that are happening. And my life experience has shown me that it can be used for good depending on how you
Mhm.
decide to respond to it. And used, even the bad things have made me who I am today, and as well as the good things. The bad things and the challenge, not necessarily bad, but the challenges have
Mhm.
sometimes made me grow more than times of comfort and joy. And you take the
Right.
wins and the good
Oh,
with,
for sure.
but I think that main thing, it all comes back to what makes it so hard or feeling so bad is just our identity wrapped up in our company. It's not seek your solution. Seek your solution is me. And I don't think that I'm
Mhm.
the only business owner to have those types of feelings. And in my experience, I've seen that in all of my clients to some extent. And some are a
Absolutely.
bit better at managing that day to others, but just acknowledging that is something that we go through uniquely as entrepreneurs that nobody else goes through in any other position in your company, no matter how invested they are in it. Not until you have an ownership stake do you have this challenge of identity.
It reminded me of a LinkedIn post that I did because I watched Miss Congeniality
Uh-huh.
when Sarah Bullock says, "I am the job."
Yeah.
And basically that was her whole identity, was being an FBI agent. And throughout that movie she learns that's not all she is. But I find too, when I'm talking to other entrepreneurs, that when it's time for them to either sell the company or to retire and pass it along to someone, particularly in their family, they have a hard time separating from it. They really
Mhm.
do, because that has been them and they've put so much of themselves in it. It takes a long time for them to separate. And a lot of times, my coaching clients, those are the ones that I enjoy coaching the most, because that's a
Mhm.
transition in your mindset. It's not just a business transaction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's see here. Where are we on time? We're good. All right. So, what is the biggest transition you've been through, either personally or professionally? And what did you learn from it?
Personally, I can share one of each. Personally, we just as a family went through a major transition. As you read in my bio, yes, we do indeed have 7 children.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a mass exodus this year. This last summer, I had 2 boys that graduated and went off. One enlisted in the Army, the other went off to college. And my daughter, who was already in college, was home for the summer. And so she also left at the same time. My oldest is already out of the house. But there was a full summer where she came home. We were only one was out of the house. So we had 8 people living here. And then all 3 of them moved out at the end of summer, just this summer at the end of August. And so now I have 3 children at home. So I have more children out of the house than in the house. And although I can recognize that, yes, 3 kids are still maybe more than a lot of families, to us, it's a huge transition.
I
And
bet.
I've got 2 girls that are in high school age. So they're a little bit older, but they're still freshmen and sophomore. And then my youngest son is in middle school. And so the age gap that they're in is a new phase for us because we
Mm-hmm.
were going through the mature teenage stage, 21, 20, 18, 18. If you remember being that age yourself, or if you have raised children through that age,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is by far and by date the most challenging as parents that we've had to parent through up until now, right? So having released that and now coming back to where we're at now, this new phase is a huge transition, biggest, I think, personal transition that I've really ever been through. And we've had good and bad things happen throughout, but this was a very mental, all of us are settling in now because it's been a few weeks, and it's our new normal, I think. I don't know that we're like quite there yet because it's still very new. That nostalgia hasn't quite worn off yet, but that's certainly a personal transition that I've been through. How we're doing it is just having a lot of key conversations with our new family unit and dynamic that we have now. We are just making adjustments as we need to and nipping some things in the bud that are starting to come up. And so with any transition, it's expecting that there's going to be some rocky points and that we're trying to settle them into them as smoothly as possible. So on the personal side, there's that. On the professional side, I think the hardest transition that we experienced to date as a team happened about a year ago, almost to the day. And we had almost all of our team was working with this one really long-term client that we had. And in some way, shape, or form, we had all been involved and done things, and we were very heavily invested, not just professionally, but personally as well. We had some very meaningful relationships in weddings, things like that.
Yeah.
And we got to a point where from just a business standpoint, we're talking about those core things that drive us, our core motivators, who we are as a company and who they were. We were just going on parallel paths. They just weren't overlapping anymore. And although I was saying it's not good or bad, it just is. That's what happens. They were growing. We were really standing firm in who we were and how we operated. It just didn't fit in that model anymore. And so we tried to have some hard conversations about, hey, I don't know that we're the right fit in this area, one particular area. And it was a very hard conversation. It didn't go very well. It wasn't received. I think it was felt like a huge rejection, especially because we foresaw it like, hey, this isn't what you're asking for. And instead of continuing to conflict, let's give you what you want and we'll step out of the way. We'll still be involved in these other areas. And we're here. We're in this. We think we maybe are not gonna, we're not intersecting in the way that we should. And if we're going to continue to go on and provide that service. And I don't think that was the hard part. It was definitely a hard conversation, but that's not the hard part. The hard part was that it just wasn't received the way that it was intended. And then ended up very quickly separating all of our services and all of our solutions and severed contact altogether. And as a team, we're still going through that. And we have, I don't know the best way to say this, we have programs, and I don't know if you've seen athletic teams that are bringing in sports psychologists and things like that to kind of help them work through some of the things to perform better on the field. I was seeing that we were carrying a lot of our hurts and a lot of our baggage with us into our new experiences with new clients. It was harder to connect, harder to open up ourselves with something, with a loss, that there's this really big hole in all of our team that, we didn't really have the tools, or we had really great conversations. I think we were there for each other. I think that there's things that we learn from, but there's still that hole. And so we actually are going through another program right now. How we're transitioning through that is really getting tools and resources to address some of these holes that were left in that and define some of those areas, see what we can pull from and learn from. And again, what I was saying before, it's how you respond to a lot of your experiences. And so we, at our group session that we had, I think within the last week or two, it came up and we talked about some of those hard things, and it was really good. And I think very healing. So it's just continuous growth and healing when you experience things as a company, and which we did, to really just lean into it and acknowledge and go through and grow. And so both parts. And I think that it's fitting that both of those things, those big, hard transitions for us, because I was saying before, what are you all about? And it comes down to relationships. The reason why both of those are so hard is because my relationships with my kids are changing.
Yeah.
It's learning, what does this look like? How are we to parent kids that now live out of the house and still figure out how we're going to parent the ones that are still here? And then
Yeah.
it's the same thing when it comes to the clients. It's that relationship, it's tough.
Yeah.
And when it was just ripped away from all of us so suddenly, I think not acknowledging it and not talking about how bad it hurt would be a disservice to us and our company. But we also had to
Absolutely.
figure out, what are we going to do with the relationships that we still have? And how do we continue to lead with authenticity with who we are, and really continue to prioritize those relationships, and recognize that maybe we're a little bit hesitant to do that right now.
I can
So that's
totally
tricky.
I can totally understand that. I've had to adjust to a client who reorganized and my contracts went away and I had a really great relationship with them. But it wasn't about the relationship, it was about the difference in
Mm.
business. Things change, so you have to change with it. That's all there is. My
Yeah, I
last,
think that was, oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry. I was just going to
No, that's
continue
okay.
on with what you said. Is we've definitely experienced that. And I think
Mhm.
that's an expected part of our business, especially as consultants. We're here to help you in any way possible. And whether that's a transitional time for the short run, or whether it's a long-term relationship, I think that is expected. It's
Yeah,
like same thing. I expect to be sending my children off. It's an
yeah,
expected thing, and it's hard, absolutely, but it's part of the job. I think where it was like the relational piece, because we've done that. We've absolutely moved away from clients, but maintained that relationship. So it's
right.
been wonderful. It's been a good experience. It's been, oh, look at where you are now. We're so proud of you. And sometimes we've even come back and intersected again on a few things, and,
Oh, for sure.
and sent them off
Yeah,
again. But it's really, I think, that relational piece, that if
absolutely.
we're gonna be a company that leads with that, and values that, and that's what we're all about, that's a part of a byproduct of what comes along with it. So that is what we have experienced, and that's by far one of the hardest things, I think,
Yeah.
about leading that way.
So we're coming to the end of our time. So I wanted to ask if someone wanted to get a hold of you, if someone wants to learn about your services, where would they go?
Oh, absolutely. So we're on all social media, Seeker Solution. But if you want to just check out our website, it has all of that available. It has our phone number. If you're an old school and you still want to give us a call, you can definitely do that. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all of the LinkedIn, all those things. You
Okay,
can contact us in any way. But our website is seekersolution.com.
great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. And everybody take a look at the podcast. No, take a look at the website and give Jamie a call. Thank you,
Yes.
Jamie. I really
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Julie. Oh,
All
thanks for
right.
having me.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.